Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Path of the Strangers, Siraat Al-Ghuraba, the strangest podcast in the dunya. My name is Hudayfa. I'm joined with my beautiful regular co-host, Brother Zahid.
Assalamu alaikum.
And today we also have the pleasure of being in the presence of dear Brother Hatib.
Assalamu alaikum.
Brother Hatib,
Pleasure to be here.
How you doing?
Good, alhamdulillah. I think it was better than expected car ride here. So
Alhamdulillah. So before we kind of get into the topic, first I just want to acknowledge we've reached Ramadan. Allah has answered our dua about Allah, and we want to reach Ramadan.
Mm-hmm. Alhamdulillah.
And alhamdulillah, I don't know if you guys realized, global sighting, local sighting, and calculations, and Saudi followers, all on the same day.
Even Chicago Hilal.
Chicago, that's what I mean by local. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, that's always nice to see, I think. Even sometimes the moon wars can get a little bit intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we've
it can divide
in the past.
It can divide families, but one thing I'll say though that I noticed, I think everyone's united right now. At least at the start of Ramadan.
Ummah's one.
Although I don't know if you guys noticed, I think there's a post or something that came out today or yesterday. But that's Pakistan announced Ramadan to start Sunday.
We need to fact check this, bro.
Yeah, are you 100% sure about that? Because I heard even India cited the moon.
No, my cousin, asked my cousin, Pakistan started Sunday.
The Ministry of whatever.
And that's
we'll fact check this after the podcast, and we'll cut this part out if it's not.
I mean, we have
I believe
we have our computer guy today, the guy behind the computer. Maybe you can do that while we're talking.
Guy, can you please fact
check? Yo, Jamie, can you? Sorry.
So.
We should have a code name for our tech guy here.
Yeah, if that's true, though, by the way, that's wild.
That's unfortunate.
I mean,
I don't know, man.
Wait, no. So you're telling me the moon was sighted? Wait, when did you hear this?
So I heard this today. I think earlier today.
How you heard this earlier today?
Yeah.
Pakistan is about 10 hours ahead of us. 12 hours. 10 hours ahead of us.
11. Yes.
10 hours.
11.
Really?
Yes.
No.
I was just
because the daylight. Because we're gonna gain an hour.
Yeah.
I think that's why. All right, we got a tech guy pulling up. I guess the viewers can't exactly see this, but we got a tech guy pulling up something online.
Hey, shout out to the tech guy, by the way. He's on it.
Hello, Barak. Allah preserve you.
So no, Hatib, you brought up something interesting. You mentioned that India called for Ramadan tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we know India borders Pakistan. What's going on there?
Obviously, and I mean, I think we all know that there's been long time history, tension, and they basically Pakistan kind of emerged from India. I think we'll obviously get into that in this podcast. But it's kind of wild how you can even be a land that borders another land, and place A said it saw the moon, and then place B says, well, I'm not going to accept it if this is the case until our own people see it. Mm-hmm. That's wild. I mean, we're one ummah. Mm-hmm. There's one moon. There's one 24-hour difference. I mean,
I believe there was a year within my lifetime. I think this was when I was living in Pakistan. And where Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India celebrated Eid on 3 different days.
There's no way.
It was because I think they started Ramadan the day before, and then they cited it. So then they're starting after like the 29 days. But then the Pakistan or whichever country that was starting the second day, they didn't cite it. And the third country that was starting didn't cite it for Ramadan and didn't cite it for Eid. So there was a 3-day difference. And these were all technically one region. Even if you want someone who follows the local sighting, but it's like areas are right there. Just because you didn't see it over that national line, I got my different Eid. Like I guess you get 3 different days of Eid. Like you still get 3 days of Eid.
I mean, one benefit, you can hop the border and celebrate 3 Eids. I mean,
it's the plus side. I mean, the negative side obviously is like, as an ummah, as Muslims, like look, if you follow a certain opinion based on legitimate dalil, I mean, it is what it is. But the practical reality is that it makes your house look disorganized. It makes you as an ummah look like you don't know what's going on. You're not on the same page.
Are you saying?
And I know, because we're going to talk about Pakistan. I mean, a lot of Pakistanis talk about this. Man, why are we never on the same page? What's going on? I mean, these are certain questions we got to think about. Why are we not on the same page?
Are you saying we as an ummah are a house? I don't feel like we're a house.
You don't feel like it?
I don't feel like we're a house.
I mean,
if we're celebrating Eid on 3 different days, I definitely don't feel like we're a house.
We're supposed to be even better than a house. We're supposed to be like
one body,
like a body, like a body.
So this podcast is not a roast. This podcast is not a roast about Pakistan. Pakistan's my homeland. I think I have multiple homelands, but that's where I spent first half of my life. I think you guys have some history in Pakistan. and I think Zahid,
Hmm.
you had a interesting adventure recently.
Speaking of,
You had an interesting adventure recently.
So Pakistan is my homeland, but that was never really the reality my whole life. First time I went to Pakistan was just a couple weeks
Pakistan's
ago.
your homeland.
Yes. Oh, well,
I'm American, to be honest. Personally,
my parents' homeland. But as a child of diaspora, as a child of a second
Pakistani
generation, diaspora.
Oh,
I had the opportunity to go back for the first time in my life, right? So as a 24-year-old, visiting a new world, a different country, a third world for the first time.
It's wild.
Third world. And you've been to.
I've been to London.
You've been to Montgomery.
I've been. Sorry. I've been to first world countries. But man, that honestly, I couldn't tell you the experience, the culture shock, and how my brain processed it. It was like a overload of sensation from day one. And I think the best way to put it to words is really quick. The best way to put it to words, I think, is that think of yourself as a child, right? You're learning the world, or you're interacting with society for the first time, with people, with whatever. But now, as you are in the body of an adult with your mind now, right? So it's a completely new world, but now you know how things work, generally, dynamics and things like that.
Yeah.
So boom, it eye opener. It was a good time and pretty sad, but we'll get into that.
What about for I believe you went with some family members, correct?
Yes.
What about for them?
So my parents have been back kind of more often recently, in the past.
Yeah, I guess
years.
I can jump in there. So obviously, so Zahid is my younger brother, and we had a very so this was kind of in a way like a very small but monumental trip.
Yeah.
Like Zahid is saying, my parents have kind of been back and forth, but for various reasons. I think it'll be a discussion for another time. This is the first time one of our siblings went to Pakistan to see it. And although I was born there, grew up my formative first 3 years there. But
voter.
we'll get into that. But this was through Zahid's eyes, we've all sort of been taking in that experience.
So I guess what you're getting at is Zahid believes the world revolves around him.
Yeah.
So the fact that he went, it's a very monumental trip for the world to know about. So I stand by that statement.
I mean, you could say
I just got
you could say Zahid is the subject. Like if we're talking about grammar, Zahid, you could say Zahid is the subject, but he could also be the object. Like when a blind person is using a stick to see around them, Zahid was our stick. He's whacking around them.
Speaking of, man, you know what's crazy? I've never used a hole in the ground bathroom in my life. That was something I kind of feared, and obviously as an Angrez, an American kid.
Angrez, yeah. I'm American.
Dude, I had to adapt because as a human, you gotta adapt. I use it 5 times.
5 times in a week?
Throughout the whole trip, I used it 5 times, and I kid you not, to this day, I still cannot wrap my head around how to do this properly. Man, this was the scariest.
Are you traumatized?
A little bit traumatized. But at the 5th time, I did get a little bit better. I kind of got a hold of it. But man, this was a pretty scary experience.
So take us from the top. I mean,
can I first, before you go there?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been longing to use toilet.
Really?
Okay, here's because dude, it's healthy for you. I mean, it's the healthiest way to go. It's what humans have been doing since the beginning of time. Toilets are a very modern invention. I mean, I don't want to get into the science of it, but I mean, we can if you want. I think we'll pass on that. But I mean, we missed that, dude. I mean, we know people here, America in the West, do not know how to,
wash themselves.
Answer nature's call, correct?
No, of course not.
I mean, there's no such thing as
they got problems. They got problems.
There's a reason it's called the Muslim shower, right? The bidet, right?
Yeah.
But so we're not going to take the modern toilet invention as something to look up to. I think there's a better way to go about it. But I think I'll leave it at that for now. But going back to your adventures, why don't we get started? So
yeah, of course.
You got there. Got at the airport.
Yeah.
Got international airport. What was that first breath of love of Pakistan like? I don't know if I'm allowed to say what city you went to.
Yeah, of course. So my hometown, Lahore. We went to Lahore.
The fortified city.
The fortified city. The walled city. The cool thing about Lahore, actually, to kind of tell the audience, it has a lot of historical, cultural significance to it.
I've been there once.
And as we know, the Mughal Empire kind of resided there. So they built out a lot.
That was their seat. No way. No, definitely not. No, their seat was Delhi for sure.
Yeah, but no, but they built the city.
Yeah.
They built the city out, and because there's a lot of natural areas and parks that was built out. Really, really beautiful, by the way, extremely beautiful. And I was a little bit shocked because you see Pakistan, you think of the world with some gutter, but that really isn't the case. There's things there.
You associate Pakistan with gutter?
No, well, that's
what I heard.
That's what we're taught subconsciously,
Yeah.
But here's the thing, man. The biggest thing I think, hopping off the plane, is just seeing my family for the first time. For me, I've spoken to my family over the phone, but that's not a real connection you really have. To be honest, they're strangers more than anything. And all of my family, except for one khara is in Canada, but all of them are in Pakistan. All my chachus, mamus, kharas, everyone. And just reconnecting that, that sense of family, tribal sense for the first time, that was something I never realized. And to realize that and to see that Izzat play out physically, right?
So
and
Izzat play out these ways?
that family Izzat, right? Because
the love, the connection,
that the sense of backbone you have, right? Your family, this is your tribe, right? Because in America, all we had were family friends, right? And that can only go so far. But having that kind of fortified feeling, like, hey, wherever I go, and every dawat, every event we went to, literally the whole population was my family. So it was weird. Every turn, every 5 minutes I'd walk, I would have 5 people barraging me with.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, would you say that, like, kind of growing up in the West and the States and whatnot, like, in a lot of ways you felt like a fish out of water? Did you, for the first time in your life, feel like a fish back in the water?
That's interesting. I mean, as much as I wanted to feel, I mean, I still felt like a fish out of water because, look, it was a stranger country, stranger world.
You're American.
I'm American. As much as I say, hey, my homeland's Pakistan, I'm American. I mean, that's just my reality, right? But then 24 years later, seeing that, reconnecting with that, wow, massive sensation. But I do want to say, man, family back home and just talking to people and just kind of gauging people out, I think that was far more interesting because I really didn't know what to expect. I came open slate. Hey, I was kind of scared, to be honest, going in. Language barrier. We have I don't know them.
So did that language barrier actually cause like an impediment, or was it like a mental block you had?
It was a mental block. But when I landed and I realized, hey, my family was as scared to meet me, or at least some of them, most of them, as I was to meet them.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you know what? This is not bad.
Scared or nervous?
Nervous. Not scared, obviously, but nervous. A little bit hesitant because it's like, oh my god, like my long lost cousin from America. Like, I don't know this guy. I got to connect with him.
Probably some wild American child.
I don't know what they're expecting. But it really wasn't bad. I was able to connect with everyone, young, old.
I will say, I remember when you came back and we talked on the phone.
Yeah.
Urdu अच्छी खासी बोल रहे थे.
अच्छा?
Speaking Urdu really good. I was surprised. I was like, this guy's Urdu pretty solid. You practice it back home.
Learning by immersion, huh?
Of course. I think that's the best way to learn.
Why'd you say the wild cousin from America?
No, I mean, like, if you think, okay, let's just put ourselves in like the mindset or like the shoes of, like, let's say the other side, right? Like you had, like you lived in Pakistan or lived in someplace back home, right? And you had this cousin, and you had the cousin and their family, and they just like disappeared off the face of the earth. And after 24 years or however many years, 28 years, actually 20 something like that. Yeah, they pop out, and it's almost like, man, is this real? Is this not like what is this person gonna be like? Are they gonna be
real character?
Are they gonna be like a Trump supporter? Are they gonna be like a hippie? Are they going to be, there's so many questions, just like you have questions. I'm sure, like, they have questions, and in a way, like, you're an adult, right? So you can make that assessment, you can make that judgment. You said what? It felt like a video game or something?
It felt like a movie.
It felt like a movie?
Yeah. Dang. It's just like, I'll say a funny thing too. And people, because you come with an American accent, and because of globalization and the advent of social media, right? People watch movies, people know American culture, especially back home. That's kind of a fixation. That's kind of a dream. Yeah, the New York dream, the American culture. So the way I was talking, okay, I had like the Hollywood accent. You see the movies, like how people speak English. I was like the actor in the middle of everyone. Everyone was like, whoa.
Midwest actually.
Did they want your autographs and
No,
pictures, selfies,
of course
and everything,
not,
right?
of course not. But here's the thing, man. The biggest culture shock was, dude, the sheer purchasing power you had. If your trip is funded, or financially backed by U.S. money, U.S. currency, the sheer power you have is insane. And
give an example.
You're not gonna notice it, but here's the thing: the protocol you get and you have is something like you couldn't even think about. You have a designated driver for with the whole 2, 3, 4 weeks you're there, however long you're there.
Yeah,
he's there, a whole private car for you. Everywhere you go, dude, you have, obviously big family. We're connecting with family for the first time. There's 5 parties, 5 events every day. You're eating so much food on a consistent basis. People are looking at you. People are like staring. People are talking to you as if you're a celebrity. I had people coming to me. I had no clue who they were. Like my dad's cousins, and then obviously I figured it out. Oh, this was this guy. This was him. Wow. Alhamdulillah, it was a loving experience, very extremely loving, but at the same time it's sad because it's like, dude, I didn't do anything for this. Just because I grew up in America, all of a sudden I have some celebrity status. Like, what is that?
I want to add something else, right? Because you're talking about, okay, your perspective. You're talking about, okay, we're trying to imagine what was it from the other person's perspective that hasn't seen you so long. From my perspective, right, sort of watching you from afar. One of the things I told you was before you left, there was an emotional chord it was sticking, but then after that, it was just information, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a strong concept. It wasn't something I tasted, touched, felt,
Absolutely not.
Something that I could understand. So let's flesh that out for the audience too, right? So how about this? Let's talk about a certain aspect, and you give us what does it feel like in America where you lived up, and what does it feel like back home? Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is social life.
Oh man, the difference in social life. Again, the biggest culture shock. Social life in Pakistan, or at least back home, is a lot more relaxed than it is here. In terms of here in America, the culture is everything's super fast paced. You give deadlines and meetings and schedules and calendars, right? That's not really a concept. That doesn't really exist back home.
Oh man, I hate that.
But here's the thing: it was pretty nice. I actually really liked it.
West.
No calendar, no calendar.
Dude, you don't operate.
How you know what Jum'ah is, bro?
You look at the sky. You look at the stars. You look at the stars the night before.
How you know when you gotta get your gym session in?
No, but here's the thing: everything's relaxed. It's like, look, whatever happens. People are up until 2, 3 a.m. Right? With family, drinking chai, and it's a normal thing because and they still have work in the morning. It's not like they don't work; they still have work. But it's like, oh, I'll go in 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
I don't mean to laugh, by the way. I don't mean to.
Okay,
laugh.
work life.
Work life, like I said, relax. Whatever kind of happens. Hey, it's not so much of a strict manager breathing down your neck. I mean, I can't say for every job, obviously, but generally the feel that I got, hey, you go into your daftar, your office, and it's like, hey, whatever. Hey, Uncle G, मैं आ गया हूँ 12 बजे, ठीक है? I'll do some work, do some whatever, and then I'll get back home. In terms of organizational work,
you said 12 baje, by the way. That's 12
o'clock. Yeah.
Noon.
Yeah, that's sometimes
interesting.
Maybe sometimes people go at noon, 10 o'clock, whatever. I'll go in and out. It's relaxed, man. I was like, dude, I'm born in the wrong country. I was like, dude.
I mean, do you see that as a positive? Do you see that as a positive?
Absolutely not. No,
he doesn't.
Absolutely not.
Look,
your day starts at Fajr and Zarisha. Sorry.
Okay, I respect that. But look, I think the West does definitely have, they have to take some notes on, hey, you gotta relax. Things will wait. Relax a little bit, okay? It's not that
interesting.
No dial type of thing culture. But besides that, I think the biggest thing that kind of affected me was kind of just like the thoughts of the people there. And you brought up something, right? Pakistan was just a mere idea to you. Like, just it wasn't a concept. It wasn't
like China. It's a word on a paper.
It's a word on paper. Oh, China. I know.
It's a shape on a map,
right? The Great Wall of China. I know that. Well, you don't. Right, and here's the thing. I knew of Pakistan. My family's Pakistani. We talked about Pakistan growing up. You see YouTube videos, you see social media, you see images of Pakistan. But to put it in perspective, it's like, you're reading history. You can read history all you want. You can read the Siraat all you want. Right, you can know the Siraat from cover to cover. Right, you know all the ghazawat, all the battles, all the events chronologically, but you will never have that same experience as a Sahabi, as someone that lived it, understood it from that perspective. And then it's the same thing, right? You go back home, you realize that, hey, this is what people actually are. This is what people actually think, right? You just have a concept, you just have an idea of it. And that in itself is just like, man, like a can of worms, but we'll get into that. Speaking of, man, talking to people, it was, there's a little bit of that inferiority complex, but I would say this, a lot of people have woken up, at least our generation, right? Cousins my age, and they kind of understand because of social media and because of watching movies, they kind of understand the world a little bit better than the previous generation, whereas more so vague and more so, hey, money grows on trees in America. Hey, everything you get served on a golden plate.
Okay, what I would say is like, before we get into the thoughts, ideas, like concepts, let's take a step back. I mean, give us a picture, man. What does this place look like? What does it feel like,
dude?
What does it smell like? Because you told me something interesting.
It was an interesting smell. You got used to it. It smelled like fireworks that went off in the middle there. You know, that smoky smell a little bit. Yeah, there's fog here and there. It depends on your locality, factors around. But dude, the difference of just like normal life, it just completely different in the sense that like infrastructure, just the roads, like it kind of gets.
Lahore's gotta have good roads.
There's good roads, but there's always parts of the city there. I mean, where some of my family live, the roads are just terrible.
Did you see anyone going the wrong way?
What do you mean by that? When you say terrible, like what do you mean?
And what I mean by that, not just physically, but I can see the kind of the mental strain it puts on people, because it's like, dude, I live in a dump.
What the heck?
And no, here's the thing. You don't know that because that's the reality. But you see America and you just like, look, dude, by far you can't compare the infrastructure to America to that of a third world country, and you kind of understand, man. People feel stuck, and you kind of get that. It's like,
is it like tight? Is it congested?
It's tight. It's congested. It's like, dude,
is there potholes?
Dude, the whole road is a pothole.
It's like a crater. The U.S. like left a
and it's sad, but I mean, obviously, there's nice areas for sure. There's defense. There's army cities and villages that are nicer. But for the most part,
let's pause on that for a second, right? Because like, okay, in America, right, as you live, right, there's like a scheme to city building, let's just call it, right? There's highways, there's that metropolis, like big city, and then there's suburbs and things. There's pieces of how it connects.
Subways connecting.
There's subway train systems. Like, how do these pieces of infrastructure connect? How does the city connect?
It makes a commute, like a 30-minute commute or an hour commute. You don't have to put thought into it because it's so seamless. Where in here in America, but here, dude, in Pakistan, if you want to go to a cousin's house, for example, that they live, from our perspective, not that far, maybe like a 10-minute drive, but that 10-minute drive is so much more of a, oh my god, now I have to hop in a rickshaw, I have to call an Uber, or it's not Uber there, it's called
I forgot.
It's called InDrive, I believe, and there's
a couple.
A new one that came out, I totally forgot. So
that's okay.
Part of it, but it's like, dude, everything is more of a struggle. Everything's like, okay, I need to plan this, I need to go here, I gotta take my bike, the roads are congested. There's guys coming from your left and right.
Do people follow traffic signals?
There's no such thing as traffic signals.
What? No, Karachi there were. Just no one followed it.
There's traffic signals in like really developed parts, like Mall Road, and like the main parts, right? There's traffic signals. Other than that,
that's unfortunate.
It's a free for all. It's a free for all, and it's just like I generally the thing is, I knew about that coming into Pakistan. Like, obviously, I've seen videos and stuff like that, but it was hilarious when I'm sitting in the car, and it's as if people are driving like if they get into an accident, it's no problem. If they get into a little, little bump, it is what it is. There's no concept of, hey, pull over, I'm gonna call insurance, I'm gonna call the police, and we're gonna get a file claimed, and we're gonna get this straight up. That's you say that someone in Pakistan, that's a joke, you're gonna get laughed at. You hit someone's car, you go yell at him for a little bit, okay, whatever. It is what it is. You move on. The day moves on. You go to
so how do they, I mean, do they buy a new car? What do they do? How do they, so what's their protocol? Like, like here it's also regulated,
dude,
right?
Here's the thing. If you have a car, you're set. Most people don't have cars. Most people have bikes. You need to be in a high.
By bike, you mean like a bicycle?
Motorcycle.
A motorcycle.
Right, and we're talking about 70cc. We're talking about 125cc bikes.
You know what that is?
Translate.
I mean, we're talking.
That's a little bit funky.
Sorry, we're talking about low speed bikes, right? When you think of a motorcycle, you think of a bike here, easily 400, 500cc. 300cc, right?
In Pakistan, we used to call it, because I live in Pakistan, I don't know if I think I mentioned that already. Those were called heavy bikes.
Yes,
the,
heavy
the,
bikes.
The sport, the
Yes.
typical bikes you see here, like the
heavy bikes.
Yamahas, and when you think the Honda, I think the one, I don't want to say anyone's name, but the brothers we know that were driving it, those are what we call sports bikes.
Yeah.
These in Pakistan, they're I don't know, they just call them motorcycle.
Motorcycle, gram. But there are heavy bikes in Pakistan, but the rich have them. In defense, the rich have heavy bikes. They have Harley Davidson too. But in order to have a car, the thing is, you have to be so much more wealthy because the export of even having a car, it's all exported. Japan, China.
Very rarely.
Sorry.
Very
It's all
rarely
imported. So that puts another level of like, I need to have so much more money just to buy. If I have a car that's for $20,000 a year, right? That same car would be worth $60,000, $70,000, $80,000.
That's ridiculous.
And it just the barrier of entry is
I don't know about
impossible.
those exact numbers, but it is true, right? There's certain products that when you import them, there's like extra things to pay, like like all these like things about tariffs we see going on right now in the administration, right? And whatnot. Like there's certain things, there's certain penalties. So we see kind of like how the local areas are, how the main areas are.
I kind of
how does wealth?
I kind of want to know the wealth disparity. Because I mean, you see, I think you were getting at that in America. I mean, there's obviously there's wealth disparity. I mean, quite very very drastic wealth disparity. If you go to parts of Chicago, you go to parts of Detroit, every major city, right? There's the homeless quarter.
Of course.
There's the rundown neighborhoods where the houses are falling apart. And then you go like up a mile or up a couple miles, you'll see like penthouses, and you'll see the biggest houses.
But really quick, I want to add on to what he said right there, and this is something interesting. I don't know if people overseas understand this or not. Is that in the richest areas of America, the most wealthy, like he's saying, a mile down, 2 miles down, a couple miles down, you'll see a rundown area. And I was talking to a couple of guys, and apparently this is really by design, right? Because if you have a wealthy area, who's going to be serving it? Who's going to be, providing the services and cheap labor and kind of stuff like that. It's kind of like almost designed in a way. So that's kind of how it is in America. Like there's a super rich area. You drive a couple miles down, or just even a mile down, and you'll see a couple run under. Just like in DC. We were back in DC. It was like
insane.
You're next to the
Capitol building, the capital of the most modern progressive nation in this world. Right. The lead, and that's what the world says, right? The leading nation, the most richest nation in the world, right? And I kid you not, along the street of the Capitol building, you go stand, homeless on the street, and it's just like, dude, what?
So that is something interesting. I think even for me, our brothers and sisters back home, is like, everything is not what it looks like. Like you'll go like saying in front of the Capitol building, literally you'll see poverty. We went to San Francisco. Actually, you weren't there for that. San Francisco, beautiful area, amazing. But there's so much homeless there. So much like homeless all over the place, and it's quite scary actually. Like, it's kind of
and I had these conversations with my cousins, and alhamdulillah, I feel like a lot more people are waking up. Like I said, in our generation, because they see it. Look, the whole concept of the grass is greener on the other side. And not to say that there's still a lot of people that still have that American dream, right? That New York dream. Hey, go to New York during the holidays, get that, magical winter vibe, and, see the skyscrapers, see the cities, and, whatever. That's still there. But people are starting to wake up and, hey, look, the grass is greener on the other side. There's parts in Pakistan that I liked a lot. Some social aspects I loved. And I'm like, dude, I want to live here. Like, why am I living in America? And on the other side, in America, I mean, there's still poverty. You still see all of that. And it's funny because if you ask me, when I was, the first week in Pakistan, hey, where would I want to live? I'd be like, dude, I want to live in America. I want to come straight here. I want to come straight to Pakistan, live in Pakistan. But here's the thing. I had like rose tinted glasses on. I was a visitor, and when you're a visitor to any place, everything's gonna feel amazing. Everything's gonna feel beautiful,
especially Muslim land.
Right? But until you live long enough to kind of really see deeper, and you really see, look, to be honest, it doesn't matter if it's Pakistan or America. You're still gonna see that corruption. You're still gonna see the wealth. But I do want to put a caveat to this. Our parents, the reason all of our parents, sacrificed and made that move, right? Leave their home country, they leave their families, and come to America. There's truth in it. To financially elevate yourself in America is far easier. It's far easier than to do it back home in Pakistan or third world countries. just because the disparity of the dollar, the currency, or the rupee of whatever country currency is of that country versus the U.S. dollar, because it's backed by the U.S. dollar, to financially elevate, it's a lot easier. The opportunity you have in America, it is better. And our dad would say this growing up all the time. And here's the thing, we didn't understand, we didn't see the other world to realize what he was saying. There's truth to what he's saying, because I used to kind of fight back. I'm like, what are you talking about? I know America, I grew up here. There's still corruption, there's still poverty. It's a pretty crappy situation. Government doesn't really like you. It's pretty evident. But look, you go to Pakistan, you go back home, you understand. Yes, the U.S. is taking 30% of your tax, taking tax on everything, purchasing tax. There's tax on everything. There's also tax back home, but at least to a certain extent, the U.S. does put it back in, to the people, to a certain extent, to the infrastructure, right, to the land. I mean, there are mess up. There's potholes on streets, but it does not compare to that of Pakistan.
So let's go back to the whole wealth idea. I think if you were talking about that. Yeah. So we were talking about the picture of kind of you drive in a U.S. city, and then you kind of see this. So walk us through it. Walk us through like how did you see wealth? And
if you have, I was talking
disparity.
To a friend. Of course, look, it's a class system in terms of like a wealth class system. You're low class, you're gonna very, very confidently probably stay low class for the rest of your life, because it's just so hard to. If you don't want to do anything that's not corrupt, or like cheat someone, right? There's a lot of temptation to that. I was talking with my uncle, with my chachu, my dad's little brother. We're having a good conversation, and he told me there's so many times in his life. He's a businessman, by the way. He's an expert businessman. He sells car parts, machine parts, truck parts. He flips his customers everywhere. He's mashallah, he's amazing at this. But he told me a story. He's like, I had an opportunity like that, like so many of my friends, where I could loot the government. I could cheat it. Right, I could take that step, just be a cheater and amass a ton of wealth. But he told me that's not done. Everything's at the end of the day, it's from Allah, and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night from that. And I'm like, the people that are are righteous and they want to keep to their deen, and or at least to the straight path. Dude, you're put in a very, very hard situation, Pakistan, or at least back home, very hard situation. Not to say that you can't elevate, you can push further, but the wealth gap is just too much. The rupee is nothing. The last time I checked, 178 about rupees is $1. I mean, come on.
I think it was lower. It was like basically a 1 in 3. So I thought it was like 300.
It might have increased.
It was like $1. And
we can get
some fact checks on it from our
fact checks from tech guy.
Real quick. One rupee equal or $1 equal to Pakistani rupee.
One USD to PKR.
Yeah. But I wonder if you have any idea on this. Is if we can put some numbers on what's like the low class individual who is living in like a, I don't know what you would call them, but like in Karachi is like I have 279. Wow.
279.
Basically almost 300,
280. $300.
And if you look at the graph for that, it's just on the way up. The inflation is crazy, right? Between Pakistani and the USD. But if we put numbers on, like, what is that low class individual? How much are they making per month? What are they getting?
Oh, dude, the salary.
I wonder if there's an estimate there.
The salary per month is about 20 or 30,000 rupees.
So now, this is now you would say an average person there.
If you have any like a normal job.
Normal office.
At least from some of the people I asked and some people I was told, dude, 30,000 rupees. That's
30,000 rupees. Can we get a number on USD for that? What would we?
Can we do 30,000 PKR to USD?
I feel like one of us should be good at math here.
But here's the thing:
30,000. That'd be like what? $300.
We'll get to that. 1,000 rupees is $3.5 a month.
$100.
Wow. A month. You have to take care of your family, get groceries, right? For $100 a month.
This is something I just want to take a second. This is something like I've thought about for a long time. I know there's economic realities and economic reasons and science behind some of these things, but I want to ask this more from just a human and rational perspective. So let's say you have a mechanic, let's say in the Chicago area, right?
Yeah.
and he charges you $500, 500 USD for a particular job, right? And then there's a mechanic in Pakistan, and he does the exact same service.
Yep.
Can anyone tell me why is it that in one particular land, a person gets this amount of money for doing this, and another person gets like not even like a percentage of that in another land for doing the same thing? And obviously, look, there's variance between markets. No one's denying that.
Yeah.
But like, you got to step back and ask for a second, like, how is this normal? I don't know if you guys ever thought about that. Like, how is this normal that you could be like, for example, let's just say a doctor, in America versus a doctor in Pakistan or anywhere else. How is it that, let's say the person has the same level of education, same level of experience, and it can be so drastically different,
Yeah.
Have you guys ever thought about that?
No. Yes, of course. I don't know what the answer is.
I mean, like, does it sit right with you? Like, does it?
Of course not.
Does it bother you?
Of course not. Of course.
Like if I was that, if I was that person, look, if I was that person, I would feel cheated. I would feel so angry. I would feel like, like, what is it? Is it my skin? Is it my religion? Is it my what set of circumstances have made these two similar things drastically different realities? That's the type of question I think not only us in the US, but those in Pakistan, those in these, we start thinking about. Why is it? Is this like physics? And I just want to, I guess, and on top of this, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. But I was one time in high school taking a macroeconomics class.
Yeah.
And
I know the story.
I think you've heard this story, right? And so the teacher is writing this equation on the board. And this equation is like some sort of like interest-based equation on like, if you take a loan, then you owe this much back. And she's just writing on the board and everyone just accepts it. As if, for example, like let's say you're sitting in physics class. There's a certain equation, right? Does anyone know the equation for force?
Force equals.
Well, let's say that's the science guy.
Got it. Easy. Come on.
Acceleration, dude.
Okay, so okay. There's this thing called mass, and there's this thing called acceleration, and so you observe this reality, this thing that exists in real life, and you make an equation is basically just an expression of that reality, right?
Yes,
do you guys agree to that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if an equation is an expression of reality, where did they derive this equation from? Did they look at like how apples fall from a tree and then say, oh, this is how much you have to pay back for a loan? No, they didn't. Literally some person decided this is the way you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And we're just all supposed to accept it.
Look, I think what you're highlighting too is just.
Does that make sense or no?
I don't know. I didn't. I guess get what you were getting at in terms of, because this is all relating to.
No. I see what he's saying. He's saying like there's tangible things in nature that make sense, that it's grounded. But now all of a sudden we live in in a world that we're told something. Hey, this has value because I say it has value. It makes zero sense. This is worth something because I say it's worth something, right? And who's saying that?
Well, okay.
Let me put it another way, just to clarify. Right? So it's like, feel free to push back. It's kind of like when you look at gravity, the force of gravity, you look at like the force of, there's an observable reality that everybody can see, analyze, measure. And everyone comes to the same conclusion. Okay, there's this thing called gravity. There's an equation that matches. Everyone can agree with it. There's no subjectivity to it. But then there's these other, and it governs. These are the laws that govern our reality. But there's another set of laws that govern our reality.
Using your common mental faculty, I just want to throw that in.
Yeah.
Magical word.
So there's so you guys can agree. There's certain laws that govern our reality, like the force of gravity. Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Of course.
And we don't have hard feelings about it. That's how the universe is created. That's how these laws, and it's fair. It's equal. It's equal on everybody.
Yeah.
But then there's another set of laws that regulate, control, change how you move through reality, what you can do and you can't do. And they're not based on any observable reality. They're just literally guys in a room that said.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. It goes back to our example, right? So to that mechanic that's living in, Chicago or whatever, somewhere in the US, like he's doing a good job. He's doing his thing. And someone decided he can make, let's say, I'm just throwing a number out there, $100,000 for this type of work.
Okay.
And someone decided, okay, that's good. Now, another guy, let's say he's living in Lahore, Pakistan, or he's living in, Dubai or leaving in wherever.
Dubai's pretty nice.
Dubai's pretty nice. Okay, but let's say wherever. And he's doing the exact same thing. And someone just decided because you live in this particular place, that same effort does not lead to the same equation. Your equation is different. The rule for me is this, and the rule for you is that.
So here's the phenomena. Does
that make sense?
Yes. The phenomena you're talking about, right? Can be summarized in one word. It's called capitalism. Well, what I mean by that, in order for capitalism, is it's an ideology made by a group of people, right? This is how we're going to govern ourselves. This is the system that we're going to live by, right? The aqidah of capitalism. But in order for capitalism to work, there needs to be, like you said, just a group of people that are suffering, for a group of people to enjoy, to exceed. And that's the only way capitalism works. I mean, now late stage capitalism, you see that now. Look, Pakistan, the people of Pakistan, the people back home of India, of the Arab world, of Africa,
of the global south,
these people are no different from anyone else. These people are good people. They're Muslims, first and foremost. Number two,
or even just human beings.
They're human beings. They're sincere people. They're actually very smart and extremely hardworking. I'd say even more hardworking than most people here in America.
Really?
But in order for America to work, in order for the empire to work, in order for this reality to work, these people need to suffer. These people need to be pillaged and ravaged. Their streets need to be torn apart. Their resources need to be stripped. They need to be put in a mental cage and controlled so that all these resources can be allocated to what? The winning, the superpower, the winning of the world.
Well, in my readings of the theory of capitalism, and especially, I'm sure you've read the book, The Fall of Capitalism, Rise of Islam, Dr. Muhammad Mawkawi.
Fall of Capitalism, Rise of
Islam, by Dr. Muhammad Mawkawi. He mentions in there how, and other capitalist theory books will mention it, that this ideology relies or believes in this thing called the scarcity of resources. And if your one of your fundamental beliefs of your way of life is a scarcity of resources, you will then as a result try to accumulate these resources for yourself, because if there's scarcity of water, I'm going to try to feed my family first. Right. And then if someone then has to reap the consequences of me taking that, then so be it. And this is now applied on a world level, where these nations who adopt this ideology, who are the bearers of and the torchbearers of this ideology, and they will benefit from it.
That makes
to the exploitation of who they're taking from.
Dude, that makes so much sense. Actually, now that you put it that way, because actually, like I was it was good because it takes me back to my macroeconomics class. Right, there's just something that eats at you. Like what? Like you just want me to accept this because you say so.
Yeah.
Like what happened to critical thinking? What happened to land of the free, land of the critical thinking? You just want me to accept this because you said so. You wrote it on the board. Okay. No, I'm not gonna just accept it. And so it's because like from an Islamic perspective, right? We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that there's actually an abundance of resources. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made enough for everybody. The equation is not about hoarding, it's about distribution, right? And like you said, if you have that whacked out idea that there's a scarcity of resources, then you can rationally start justifying horrendous behavior, because if someone's got to lose, well, I don't want it to be me. I don't want it to be my family. I don't want it to be my people. And the consequences are really bad, but I don't want it, I don't want it to be me. If it's got to be someone, well, at least it's not me. And whereas from an Islamic person, just let me finish that
of course.
Really quick, is that it's like it's about, and we see this in our history, right? Yeah. Like we talk about under the Ottoman Empire, how there was certain points where even zakat was not being taken because there was no need for it. And we're not saying that there's an utopia, but it's a mindset type of thing. I just want to take it back to like the reason why I even brought this up is like because there's certain laws that govern our reality, right? And here's what I'm trying to get at is, look, the laws that are natural, that are God-given, that are created, I mean, we accept and we obey and we submit. I mean, we're not going to change gravity, and we're okay with that. We're not going to change this. But why would you, as a sane, human, rational, thinking, living person with the heart and mind, accept the laws that someone just imposed upon you, and you have to live your whole life by that? You have to suffer your whole life because of that. Why? It's not like it's not like gravity. It doesn't have to be that way. So then why accept it? Why accept it to be that way?
Of course not.
Yeah, I think we got on a tangent. We should probably take it back to Pakistan.
No. That was good. And let's take it a step further, right? It's not just the empire controls the world by stripping resources. That's just the first step, right? Because okay, they can fight back, and or at least, but how they make sure to keep control, to keep that superior position in the world, that leading position in the world, right? As the richest nation, as the richest empire, is that they take it up a notch. They mentally put people in shackles to keep them submissive, to keep them subdued, so that and this is one thing I really want to bring up. The people of Pakistan, my family, they're all like they're good people. They're good sensations, and they're thinking are right. But it's just so the reality of the situation is that their basic needs are not met. They're just surviving. Their only thought is to survive, and that's how the empire. That's how this capitalistic worldview keeps.
So
that's the shackle that they keep people in. So that what, like you said, the thought you just said, right? That out of box thinking. Oh, why am I following someone's ideas that someone imposed upon me? Well, guess what? That thought is a luxury, right? To think in itself is a luxury. And that's the people of Pakistan, the people back home, the people of the Muslim lands don't have that luxury, as per systematically put in place.
And if I can, I apologize for asking too many questions. If you'll jump in anytime, but putting like political terms and all this type of capitalism, whatever. Let's just shelf it first.
Yeah, shelf
it. Like I just want to understand, like,
yeah. All right.
like what's the psychology of like what? How do people think? How do people think?
I'll tell you how people think. It's
People don't.
No.
Here or there.
Oh, here
Both.
No. Here's the thing.
Can I say one thing though?
Go ahead,
The previous example you're mentioning of people in Pakistan, they're looking to survive. They don't have the opportunity to think about what we're talking about, right? A greater change, a greater life for my people, for myself, for my family. I mean, here, I mean, it's the same thing. Even though you might have more, but it's the same mentality of the debt trap that people lock themselves into, of paying off that mortgage, of paying off that car, where you don't get to think. You're just going. I'm saying the general person, the general average person in America, it's still the same mentality. Yeah. It's like, I can't do anything about this. I just gotta accept this reality for myself.
I agree, and it's crazy because
I actually want to double down. I want to double down what he's saying, because
they're using the same tactics they're using to other nations and other peoples, of the world. They're using it on their own people.
Who's they?
The empire.
Yeah, wants to get canceled.
But I mean the superpowers. I mean the people that are on the table. The people that are pushing.
I'm on the table right now.
the people that have the wealth, like the people that they want to keep this going,
keep that wealth for themselves.
Topic for another episode.
Topic for another episode.
Yeah,
sure.
But okay, but you're saying it's still different. So I do agree with what Hudayfa is saying in the sense that, like, even if let's say you're in a cushy, quote unquote cushy corporate job, you're in a 9-to-5 job, the thing that I think a lot of people dream about, not just back home but over here, right? Like, for a lot of people, like what they're saying, like, the reality is, and you might not see back home, most Americans are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
If like anything goes wrong, they do not have the funds to facilitate their basic needs and lifestyle, even if they're like car breaks or something. Except for taking like loans and taking interest-bearing loans, that's going to crush them long term. So I mean, that is the reality. Most people are and even the cushy jobs, the jobs that people in America want, then obviously the people back home, like the office job, the 9-to-5 job.
That's true.
The way they build it up is still derived from that same like thought process, the mindset of scarcity of, you're just a cog, we can replace you so easily, and they create like a mindset of fear. Literally, you can be in a cushy, nice job, but your blood pressure is so high, you have diabetes, every day you're worried you're going to get laid off and you're going to be fired or all these kind of things. And that is the life most Americans live.
Yes.
But you're saying there's still another element that makes it more difficult.
I mean, here's the thing. I agree. I take what I said back. That is also happening here. But the clear difference is that the people back home are the clear victims of that colonialism, whereas in not necessarily here. From that viewpoint of having inferiority complex, having mental barriers put on them, and in terms of thought, and I want to say this right now, this I just thought about this when I saw how people thought back home was quite interesting. It was interesting in the point, from the perspective that this is a Muslim land, everyone's Muslim, right? So I came in with them like, okay, everyone's Muslim, everyone understands the thing, yeah. Here's the thing. There's masjids at every corner, every block of the city. The adhan plays 5 times a day.
Beautiful. Yeah.
5 times a day.
Awesome.
But no one prays.
What? No, that's not true, bro.
Exaggeration.
What the heck?
People pray. I'm sorry. People pray.
That's not true.
Some people pray in their house. People pray in the masjid. But
the society doesn't pray.
The society doesn't pray.
Society as a jama'ah does not pray. Because I think you're right about that.
And here's
the masjid there is the masjid goers that's separate from the, I guess,
of course,
the average person.
Of course, there's still people in the masjid. I'm not saying it's completely empty. Anything that people pray. Obviously, I'm not saying no one prays, but society doesn't pray. Most people don't pray. The thing is, it's weird because it's like I was surprised. I was taken aback. I feel like the basic 1, 2, 3s of Islam, right? You learn this as a child, as a first grader, as a kindergartner. Hey. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is prayer. Okay, salah. Okay, okay, we know this. Pray 5 times a day. There's not much more thought to that after that. Obviously, now it's a case of discipline. But the thing is, when it comes to like basic Sharia, and when it comes to basic rules, it's as if people don't know. But at the same time, on the same coin, and this is what I found interesting. People's the political analysis and thought was actually more advanced than what I saw here in America. People were very politically astute, right? They're able to think because the corruption is so apparent to them in Pakistani society. The government corrupt, the military is corrupt. That's so apparent. And people are always, talking about it, thinking about it. Hey, and to the point that they keep up with policies. They keep up with Trump's policies. I was in a family gathering, and we're just talking about politics and whatnot. And my cousins knew more about Trump's specific policies more than I did.
That's crazy.
I was like, oh shoot, I was taking it back.
That's very interesting. Actually.
And it's just like, okay, wow, dude, like mashallah, like people can think. And they demonstrated that to me. They're talking about this factor, this corruption factor, this policy, this economic policy, this social policy. They're talking about it, but at the same time, there's this massive gap in conduct of like, oh, but when it comes to the 1, 2, 3s of Islam, it's just not there.
That's you're gonna pause there for 1 second. Why is the politics of America known for everyone in the world?
I mean, America's the main character. The policies of America decide the policies of the whole world.
Why don't we just stop talking about them?
I mean, same reason why during the time of the Prophet they're talking about the Romans and the Persians. I mean, come on, man, that's just how it is. That like the biggest dog on the block gets talked about the most.
I mean, main character energy. Dude, come on,
the bully on the block. The talk of the town.
But I was trying to piece this together. I'm like, okay, is it that people reject Islam? Is people that they just don't want to pray, or they just don't want to do it? Look, I don't think that was the conclusion I got to. I think it's just that people are ignorant, and the government does not facilitate. And now we're going to step into a bigger issue.
Whoa. Well, I want to pause you for a second.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, because this was another thing that I've been thinking about. If I'm sure you've been thinking about too. It's just we talk about all these different things, but like it's the religious, or if you want to call it religious or dini aspect of it, or how does Islam play a role in people's lives? And you kind of started getting into it, but yeah, I mean the question is why? Why is that discrepancy? Because one thing at least that comes to my mind is I remember asking my mom one time, like, you went to school in Pakistan, right? Of course, yeah, of course. And then, it was a good school and this, that, all that. Did you guys ever pray? She's like, no, it's never. Like, I think you went to school in
I
Pakistan,
was
right?
just gonna say, yeah.
Like,
until,
do people pray in school?
Nope. I went to school in Pakistan until the 5th grade. Did I? Was there ever a prayer in our school, like a Jama'ah or anything? I don't think I ever saw it.
That's wild.
I don't think I ever saw it.
So there's a social conditioning aspect.
We did recite Quran in our morning assembly, along with the national anthem, of course. I think let me think what was first. I think the Quran was first. I think. I hope so. But beyond that,
were you the guy? Were you the guy that did?
I was actually, alhamdulillah, I was trained well by my father. Grateful for my upbringing.
Shout out to Uncle G.
But I was often the guy who would either recite the Quran or there was one other thing I would do. I think we sometimes did poetry.
But you never established the salah stuff.
So that's pretty. That's pretty crazy because people. I heard someone else say this. I think again I was listening to a podcast by Dr. Muhammad Malkawi. He was saying he was in Jordan. He went to Jordan and in a university setting, no one was establishing the prayer. In a university setting, that's when you're in there in your 20s almost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking 5th grade. I'm like 9 years old, right? 10 years old. Okay, I get it, but I'm thinking back to what the older kids did. I mean, there was no prayer room in our school or anything.
I want to ask a question.
Before you ask the question, this was one of the biggest like culture shocks phenomena that like I was faced with. Dude, I felt like a stranger praying in a Muslim land. I felt weird. And I'm coming from America, right? The land of non-Muslims, the land of rednecks and yeehaw and come on, like this is America, man. Like, yeah, like there's Christians and non-Muslims here, right? The Muslim population is what, 2%, less than 2% of the nation.
Did it feel the same or easier to pray here than there?
It feels easier to pray here
wow.
This brings me back to a statement. The phenomena of, look, I live in a non-Muslim land. And Islam seems easier, and I got a Muslim land. Islam seems harder. At least like the basic 1, 2, 3s.
Oh, come on! I think you're being a little too aggressive.
Maybe, on the look, I'm not hating on any of the people there, and I'll double down and say the people are sincere and they want change. They want it. They just don't know how to bring the change. The most of the masses, they just don't know how to, but they
very
want
hospitable,
it.
Good,
more hospitable than Americans, for sure. But the phenomena of this, for our audience, whoever has seen our previous episodes on public school versus Islamic school, and I want to make this comparison. I would say that America is like the public school, whereas Pakistan is like the Islamic school. In that generalization, I'm saying that, hey, you're in the middle of Muslims, but it's harder to distinguish what's right, what's wrong. Whereas when you're in the middle of you're the only Muslim.
Interesting.
And amongst non-Muslims, or very few very few Muslims, you can easily distinguish what's right and what's wrong, and it's easier. Not to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't guide people in Pakistan, of course not. Astaghfirullah. They're amazing people.
There's khair, there's good, and
there's good. But I can tell you, if we grew up in Pakistan, man, our lives would be very different.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to get into, is that so you're saying, okay, the people are genuine, good-hearted, humble.
Amazing.
But for huge red flag or huge weird point is they're Muslims, they don't pray regularly, most people. And the reason about the school thing is, and you kind of confirmed it with your own personal experience, that in schools you don't pray at all, is that this isn't, it kind of starts giving us an answer that this is not randomly done. This is cultured behavior. This is structured behavior. This is like this is something you're institutionalized to not do. You're institutionalized to not pray, because in every facet of, if we can make the extrapolation, every facet of public sphere, you just don't. So then why would you? Like, you could be sincere, but then it's like all the conditioning you've had your whole life is, well, you just don't pray.
And look, it's just a point of, to be honest, what I got, my conclusion was, it's just a point of ignorance. People don't know.
No, but here's my question. It's going to lead up to that question. Is okay, so there's clearly a conditioning going on, a societal conditioning. Now, for you, young brothers, good brothers here, like, why would a Muslim country condition its people not to pray?
One comment I have on that, and this is maybe me having a bit of husnul dhan for people there, is like for the school. I think a bit of it was just, I just want to emulate the West, especially like because over there it's like, the British system is in schools. That's what's followed. And they're like, hey, they wear uniforms. We're gonna wear uniforms. They have classes like this. We're gonna set up our classes like this. They have they don't pray at school. Why are we gonna pray at school? And then the best we get is, okay, we're Muslims. We're gonna do Islamiyat studies twice a week. I think that's pretty much what it was. And I've been hearing it's slowly decreased over the years, and maybe I wonder what it's like today. Islamiyat is like your one subject of class, which is like in school, which is where you study Islam, and even that you're studying very, very, very superficial, surface level, like what you would your kid would watch on a YouTube video of as they're growing up. So I wonder what, like, on a school basis. I mean, I'm sure.
So do you think that's normal to just like verbatim copy and paste something from a different society with different values and
look? It's a colonialist mindset. It's
colonized mindset.
Colonized mindset. You're colonized.
What do you mean by that?
Like the example of
the soldiers might have left.
The soldiers might have left, but their thoughts are still caged.
So there's mental blocks.
There's mental blocks.
What are those mental blocks?
Really quick, I just want to know, dude, what most people know about Islam in Pakistan, or at least the culture that's pushed upon it, is just the Maulvi Sahib in the masjid, right? The Maulvi Sahib, and I was walking down the street, and my Dada Boo's house, my father's house, is right next to a masjid. So alhamdulillah, you can hear the adhan. So I had a really, really positive reaction to that. I'm like, oh, mashallah, you guys live right next to a masjid. But I saw the faces of some of my family, and they're like, they smiled, but they were like more so like pissed off, like, oh, we live next, like they're more so annoyed. Face of no, yeah, we live next to a masjid, and here's the thing, and I asked them, like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, oh, I wish I lived next to a masjid. I think that'd be amazing, especially if I can hear the adhan every day. That'd be amazing. But when I walked past the masjid, you just hear on loudspeakers constantly a Maulvi Sahib, yelling into the mic, saying non-coherent, things, like they're talking at such a high level. And as a common man in Pakistan, it's like, dude, you're gonna be like, dude, what is this guy talking about? This guy's just saying, I didn't pay too close attention, but this is what people are saying. Like, you're like, my dad was like, dude, this is not even like
was he like yelling at somebody, or
no? It's just
giving
loudspeaker.
a lecture.
Just giving lectures,
on a loudspeaker for the neighborhood.
It's like you're preaching to someone that doesn't even want to listen to you, and you're not even saying the things that people want to hear, and that pushes you away. And it's just like that culture of like the Maulvi Sahib, Sheikh Sahib, Nadi Sahib in the masjid. That's just Islam, right? It's a spiritual thing. Okay, that's all it is, right?
One quick thing, obviously, you reminded me this one. You said Maulvi Sahib. One thing I recall was that's
a derogatory term.
The term Maulvi was used almost as a roast sometimes.
Yeah, it's a roast.
Someone tried to let's say encourage a prayer. Encourage a prayer, or encourage a don't do this. Hey, let's do this. But Maulvi aa gaya. It's like, hey, look at this Maulvi.
Maulvi Sahib they call, yeah.
And Maulvi would translate this as just the sheikh at anywhere. Anyone, I guess even anyone got a big beard, he's a Maulvi now, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's part of the. Like, my dad was telling me something similar to this. Was they would, as kids or something, as young kids, they would call him Khalifa Giri. Someone who wants to talk about like Islamic ideas, they will call him Khalifa Giri. I don't exactly know what that means, but
what does Giri mean?
I didn't get it exactly, but it was like a term to make ridicule someone. Khalifa Giri ban gaya. Again, as anyone who tries to again talk about any Islamic ideals, it's the way, I guess, the culture is set up, and who we can just, I don't want to discuss how that culture became about to be, but definitely the colonial influence is still there. It's still there.
And instead of taking Islam as like a point of strength, right? Point of embodying it as your personality, right? An Islamic personality, people see it as more of a look. They just know it's spiritual. This is Islam. It's more of an eyes for it. It doesn't have to do anything with my life practically. They don't know the practical, they don't achieve that rational thought of, hey, I come from a creator. I'm going to return to a creator. I'm here for a specific purpose.
Because that's not taught.
That's not taught. That's my point.
That should be like the fundamental thing.
That rational thought of, hey, why do I believe in Allah? Why am I a Muslim? versus
for a nation that's gonna call itself at something that's there for the Muslims as
Right.
as their its first constitution says,
Yeah.
right? And no law is gonna be made. The first
Yeah.
article, no law is gonna be made against Islam, right?
Is Pakistan under an identity crisis? Is it a nation that does not know its identity?
Its identity is it's Pakistani.
What is that? What does that mean?
No.
What does that
I
mean?
mean that's every nationalistic
No.
identity. It's
Actually,
what does that mean?
No. Actually, I'll disagree. And I've been thinking about this recently, and maybe I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Is that something I've noticed in various different parts of the Muslim world? I'll tell you my observation, then what my theory is. So my observation is like okay, if you look at people from Syria, like I'm from Damascus. My 10 generations are from Damascus. I'm from this, that, whatever. Or like let's say I'm a Palestinian from Palestine, and our 10 generations are here, and this, that, or whatever. Like there seems to be a deep connection to history, reverence with history, and like that kind of grounds their identity. To put it another way, it's almost as if in certain places they're more proud of where they come from and who they are. And my feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like for whatever reason, it seems like Pakistan, the people from Pakistan, they don't imbue that same historical pride. And my theory is, okay, if you look at like a city like Damascus, man, that place is, or Cairo, or like maybe even Delhi. I don't know if Delhi counts, but like these are places that have been on the world stage and the world map for like thousands of years.
Millennia.
And that Islamic history, Istanbul, for example, you guys stopped at Istanbul, right?
Yeah.
There's still like you're in some way connected to the grandeur, the conquest, the success of Islam. But what is Pakistan? Like here's my theory.
Yeah.
Is that Pakistan is an invention that came in the 1964, 1960s, right?
47.
47, sorry. So it's like it's very new, and growing up, what I would hear a lot is like especially people from Pakistan, they'd be like, give it time. Pakistan's still like a toddler. Pakistan's still like a teenager. Pakistan's still like a young nation, and you need to give it time to develop. Which I understand where they're coming from, but to me it speaks to something a little bit different as well. Is that it's a nation that has no historical roots in the deeper Islamic narrative, and so you don't know who you are. That's my theory. What do you guys think about that?
One thing I'll say immediately is, the partition and that migration that happened of Hindus going to India and Muslims coming to Pakistan, that was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, large scale migrations of a people. So you don't have, my family, I think it came from parts of India and they settled in Karachi. I don't know about your family, how deep their history goes into Lahore, but I'd be willing to guess there's some sort of migration there that happened at some point. So there's no historical root in that city that you're in, because this migration that literally happened 3 generations ago.
That's a great point. Wow.
2-3 generations ago. The other thing is,
you're saying it supports my theory.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not saying I disagree with you at all. And the other thing is, I was thinking, when it comes to, we're Muslims. Pakistan has Muslims. I wonder, I just had this thought. You learn about the stories of these great conquerors, of the Sahaba, of Sa'd al-Ayyubi, these are all in the Arab lands. When it comes to what came out of Pakistan that you study and take pride of as a Muslim that did something for Islam,
or the Asian subcontinent,
I don't know. Yes, in the recent, I can think back. Allama Iqbal, he was a very great thinker, a very great poet. He wrote a lot of poetry about with Islamic ideals in mind, about this place for the Muslims.
That's a modern phenomenon.
This is yes. I'm talking modern. I'm saying yes. I can only think of maybe very recent examples. So before that, it was Tariq bin Ziyad, I believe, who opened Sindh. Right. This is Pakistan to the Muslims.
Not Tariq bin Ziyad. It was escaping my. But look, I think this is such a good point. I really want to dig deeper into this.
Anyways,
dig deeper into this. Like, do you guys feel like Pakistan is a nation that's been cut from its history? Like it's suffering amnesia?
I wonder. Let me think about that for a second. Is it suffering from amnesia? What is there to remember?
That's what I'm trying to say. Okay,
there's nothing to remember.
And actually, your idea of the migration just made me think of something, right? Is that Okay, look, right now in like Syria or other places, right? I mean, for the long time, let's ignore the recent reality and whatnot. Let's say the last 50 years in Syria, right? Despite whatever despotic ruler that's been there or whatever oppressive regime, we're talking about like the Assad regime and whatnot, in that history, you still had these landmarks of Islamic history, like the Masjid of Khalid bin Walid or the fort of this and whatever. Like in a way, the Muslims of Hind, the Muslims of the subcontinent, have lost the history because we've said our land is Pakistan. But what about all the Islamic monuments and Islamic conquest points?
What about the Mughal Empire?
Well, exactly.
The Mughal Empire
what about
Pakistan?
But it was in India too.
India and Pakistan.
So the parts of the Mughal Empire, the Islamic Empire that were in India, it's like we've cut off from them. So then, who are you?
Well, I mean, Lahore is pretty much a Mughal Empire city.
But I'm not an expert there, but was it the seat of the Mughal Empire?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think it was Delhi and Mumbai.
And we've lost it. Do we consider Delhi like a Muslim city?
No, Hindu.
Do you guys see where that disconnect is coming from?
I see.
We've cut from our history. Like
Yep.
We've like in a way. So then, what do you have to stand on?
Well, I think I mentioned this earlier. Was the Pakistani is the Pakistani. That's his identity, and sure there might not be much substance to the identity. Sure, that might be a bit fabricated, and you're disconnecting yourself from the ummah of your Islamic identity. But I mean, if you that's what the nation decided on, or maybe not the people decided on, but the people who set up this nation, that's what they decided on. And if there's consequences to that, I mean, yes, we're suffering from that.
Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. I mean,
do you support it?
I call myself American, dude.
He works for the empire.
Again, our identity at the end of the day is one of Islam, one of Iman, and I can
only identity.
I'm sorry.
Our only identity is Muslim.
I mean, I still say I'm from Pakistan. That's where I grew up. But beyond that, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, right? We created your nation as tribes so we may recognize each other. So my nation, my tribe might be from Pakistan. That's where my ethnicity is. But at the end of the day, the bond of Islam is what I hold fast to, and that's what connects me with almost 2 billion around the world. I don't keep an eye on time. We're cutting a little short. I want to bring it to a close. I want to ask you any other reflections from Pakistan or your trip. I mean, you spent almost 3 weeks there. In terms of you want to go back, where you want to live in the future.
Okay. There's a couple. So
go ahead.
I want to answer this. I want to bring up one story. I was talking to one of my family members, or they're recently married but they live in Dubai, right? And I asked them, hey, why don't you guys live in Pakistan? They're business owners in Dubai. And I asked the co-coaches, why don't you guys live in Pakistan, or why don't you guys expand? I mean, you guys look like you're pretty well off. Why don't you guys expand to the US? And in my thought process was this: hey, this was the US. People have that US dream, right? Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, okay, let me follow this line of thought. I assume, hey, maybe you also have the US dream. I want to see if you also have that dream, right? Like, hey, you're gonna expand, you may come to the US. And he told me this. He's like, absolutely not. I do not want to come to the US.
It's Pakistani, bro.
No.
He's from Dubai.
He's Dubai. And this brings back to the point, right? The whole point.
Is he Dubian or is he dubious?
I'm gonna ignore that dad joke.
Emirati, bro. Come on.
Ignore the dad joke there. No, but he brought me to the point. Look, our parents brought us for specific reasons, right? That the US could offer that the Pakistan, our homeland, couldn't offer. And this is a couple of reasons we can't deny. Right, and that's just the reality of the world. Number one, education. The worth of a degree, a U.S. degree, is far more than that, at least in our current reality, than that of any degree in any country. So that U.S. degree gives you a lot of opportunity, right? That opportunity, the accessibility of being an American, of being a U.S. citizen, right? What does that all culminate in, right? That culminates into two things, right? Having that degree, and number two, having that passport, having that citizenship, right? That gives you that unlocks that accessibility to the world, and that unlocks that. that passports borders. The empire made the borders on you're unlocking pretty much all the borders. But that also unlocks a financial. You can secure a good paying job, and guess what? Because you're a U.S. citizenship, you hold a U.S. citizenship. You get paid that U.S. wage wherever country you are in. And I think this is more of a modern phenomenon with remote work playing into the scene. Hey, guess what? He told me, why would I go to America where I can go live in a country that costs me so much less? If I have U.S. money, if I have that U.S. whatever credentials, I can make so much more money and have that tremendous buying power. Financially, I would never go to America. Financially, I would never.
This
is
all about making money.
This is from a financial perspective,
practical
financial standpoint. And it's like, dude, I thought about that.
Yeah,
I'm
practical
like,
one.
I thought about that. I thought about that. I'm like, dude, I have a U.S. degree. I have a U.S. citizenship passport. What am I doing in America financially? Like, okay, I achieved what my parents set out to achieve, right? Give me the accessibility, give me the opportunity. But financially, let me just go to maybe go to a Muslim country, go to Dubai, maybe work a remote job or do something, get paid that U.S. wage and make money. There's a caveat, obviously, if you want to, I looked into this, if you want to keep your U.S. citizenship, you still have to pay that federal tax to the government to be eligible to that citizenship. But even then, you're not paying state tax. You're not paying other taxes. Even then, you're still making.
What's left over is still billionaire status.
You're a king.
I'm sorry.
You're a king.
Yeah, you're a king, right?
You're a king.
That's interesting.
So it's like, dude, this is a good point. But okay, that's just one tidbit I wanted to share. The other thing is, look,
I think that requires our whole discussion, like the Hijra plan or something.
Can I say my 3 Hijra cities?
Go.
Sounds weird.
Go for it.
Islamabad, Damascus, or Istanbul.
Islamabad, Damascus, or Istanbul.
Islamabad because I live in Islamabad.
Yes.
Damascus because this is where, inshallah, or the narration say Isa Islam will come down. It's also, I feel, one of the centers of the Muslim world. A lot of history, Khalid bin Walid Mosque. People of Sham, the blessed. I want to be people of Sham. I don't know if I'll ever consider being people of Sham. And then Istanbul, seat of the Uthmani Khilafah. Man, I've been there for 20 hours.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right now, I would, if you consider it in terms of the Muslim lands, it's one of the more developed areas of the Muslim land.
For
I mean,
sure.
you get the I guess the amenities of what you would say of the Western world.
Although they're more,
and they're still Islam there.
They're staunchly Turkish. Staunchly.
Istanbul has a lot of actually people migrating to or moving there. Okay. So you're right about the Turkish people being very nationalistic. I mean, that's similar to other places too. The Emiratis are very Emirati. Saudis are very Saudi. You'll get that right away.
Of course.
The Pakistanis, I guess, can be more hospitable.
Of course. And just like to answer your question, look, do I want to live? Okay, final answer. Do I want to live in Pakistan full time, or do I want to live in the empire?
Global citizen, dude. You can go anywhere you want.
I think, man.
You guys been watching those videos?
Global citizen. I can go wherever I want.
You share them.
But to be honest, I think I would not mind living in Pakistan for, or at least a Muslim country for a part of the year, of my life. Or eventually, I do want to move out of the state. But here's the thing: I don't want to. From a practical point of view, I don't want to lose that accessibility that I have.
That you worked hard for.
That I was given.
Yeah, literally.
Right.
This is a really interesting point. I don't know how much more you guys want to discuss about this, but like it is a very interesting phenomenon. Like I felt like, especially when our parents brought us here and there's mass immigration to the United States and Britain and all these Western countries. Because it was the land of opportunity, or at least land of, it seemed like opportunity. But we're, I think, witnessing an interesting phenomenon because these types of conversations are not just happening with Muslims, but even amongst many non-Muslims, because they see the fruits of their way of life. The destruction of the family system, the destruction of the way of life, the living paycheck to paycheck, just having no access to medical care, even though you live in the most sophisticated medical system in the world. And like, it's very interesting. I'm getting all these videos popped up on my feed. Maybe you guys are as well, but it's like, even they're talking about how they live in some other place and they're like, you know what? We don't have everything that we have back home, but man, I have a social life. Man, I have access to medicine. I have access to like living. I'm not living to work. I'm working to live. And I'm doing other stuff. And what I'm trying to say is like, it's in an interesting way. We're in a we're on like the turning point of history where it seems like a lot of things are changing. Maybe our kids will want to, maybe the land of opportunity in the future is going to be, I mean, inshallah, we hope back in the Muslim land, but definitely seems like there's something changing. We need to
I think definitely
dig deeper in there.
Definitely is.
I think with that being said, it's a lot to digest, I think, and a lot to think about where we want the vision, not just for our individual lives to be, not just for our families to be, but for the ummah to be. And inshallah, I think we have to discuss that in a future episode. Keep an eye on time. With that being said, Jazakallah khair, brother Zahid, for sharing your experiences, sharing that adventure, sharing that narrative of your recent adventure to Pakistan. I appreciate our guest, brother Hatib, coming on. And I think with that being said, let's wrap this up. Jazakumullah khair to our viewers. Wa akhir da'wan. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.